Okay, so here we are gonna whack this muzzle brake off. With any luck, these are my tools of choice here. Got a little single jack and a rubber mallet in case I want to go back and forth a few times to get it off. And let's hope it's not glued on permanently. No, I'm not really worried. Well, let's give it a try. If I have to do major hairy carry, this video will never see the light of day. So this is a block of 2x3 I bored a hole through, and we're just going to put it up to the muzzle brake here and try to whack it off. Oh, not a problem. It's moving. It's really moving. Looks great. Trick is trying to not let it go flying onto the floor and get all scratched up. Oh yeah. Let's see how we're doing here. Well, maybe about halfway. Maybe not quite. Well, it's really coming off now. Yep, got to be almost there. Well, it's still got a ways to go. Whack, whack, whack. Well, it's getting pretty deep. See if I got something that'll touch the end of the barrel. Oh boy, it's deeper than that. So, how about this rod? Just curious how we're doing. See, the end of the muzzle is right there. So, just have a little bit to go. Now we're starting to hog out our hole in the block, so it's starting to slip over the brake. I just hold it with it. Oh, there it goes. I just cocked it over at a little bit of an angle to make sure I was catching a little piece of wood. That looks fantastic. Yep, we'll trim that up, wash the barrel, just do a little cleanup on this, and we'll have a microscopically perfect fit. Okay, I will check back in with the completion of this. Gonna locate where the grub screw goes on the barrel, put a little divot in the barrel for it to engage on, and get it cleaned up. Maybe a final shooting session, and then back to the customer. Yay! And then HW30. Can't wait to get on the next steps with that. So you'll probably see that on this same video because this little clip was short. It's going to be nice. Y'all see me soon. Bye. Okay, just wanted to turn the camera on for a minute and let you see the HW90 muzzle brake job and its completed, finished condition. So after taking it off, cleaned the wax off of the barrel, oiled the bend of the barrel, a couple or three passes inside the muzzle brake with the flapper sander that I showed you earlier. because it was absolutely, you know, microscopically perfect fit. We would have had to beat it on and beat it off, and I didn't want to have it loose, but to get it on, you know, you really had to kind of twist and push and twist and push with the amount of material I removed. I didn't make it loose enough to just like slipped on and off. It's pretty darn snug. Oops, sorry, I'm taking it out of your view while I talk. And so then a little cleanup on the end, a little tiny touch of paint on that little tiny spot that was a little shiny. Kind of too bad about that, but it's no big deal at all. And what else? So I machined a divot in the bottom of the barrel for where the set screw goes, so that it can't come off in your hand at all. Drop of thread locker on the set screw, and that's a done job. So I got to get some black crayon. Be nice to fill these holes. I don't know where my black crayon is from when I moved to this new shop, so probably have that over at Walmart. And maybe get to shoot it one more time, verify its performance. But I think we're basically done. It's just a factory stocked. This is not a gun that I stocked, but we rebuilt the inside and cut and crowned the barrel. Found a lot more accuracy out of it. We glass bedded the action of the stock. There's still a little bit of clay there. I'll wash that off. But yep, there it is with the muzzle brake. Looks pretty nice. This is one of the aluminum Apex muzzle brakes that Jim McCarry sells on occasion. He'd been sold out. Went on his website today. It showed there were 2 in stock, but when you clicked on it to buy them, they were already gone. So I'll keep an eye on it, because this was the last one I had, and they're really nice. So there you go. Hello everybody. So here we are on the Benchmaster milling machine, finishing the inletting of the trigger guard opening. It needs to go down a little bit deeper. I like to leave it a little bit shallow so I have adjustment room. It does mean that it adds extra time, but I like achieving perfect results, and this is one detail on gun stock that doing this extra step allows me to achieve better results. So this bit is not quite wide enough to do it just in one pass back and forth. It leaves a little bit of a step, but it's pretty darn close. And I'm going to go down about, I think it's about 100 thou. It's a fair amount. So I'm just going to make a couple passes here for you, and then I'm going to have to take it out of the vise, test fit the action in the trigger guard, put it back in the milling machine, and do it over and over until I get it just right, perfect. And I won't bore you with all that, but I'll make a few passes here back and forth just because I love watching machinery operate, and I know some of you do too. So here we go. Oh, I've got oh, interesting, this one's on. That's how the batteries on these things run out. I've got well, let me loosen this up here. There, I've got a set of these inexpensive digital readouts from eBay on each of the 3 axes of the milling machine. So this is the Z axis here, and you probably can't see it in the camera, but I've already gone down about 38 thou and got a fair amount more to go, but I'm just going to creep up on it. So here we go. One thing I've done here on the milling machine is it's very easy, at least for me, to get dyslexic and go the wrong way. So I've got little cheat sheets. They really ought to be replaced. They're getting pretty bad. But here, let me see. Pointing at it, I don't know if you can see, I got a piece of masking tape there. It says Y, N, and a direction of rotation arrow, a curved arrow, showing that if I turn the knob this way, it's going to make the stage go in. And then also over here for X, I've got a similar little picture that shows me that if I turn the knob this way, it will make it go to the left. And then the up and down one, it actually came off here recently, so I need to change that, although this one is a little easier to tell because it's heavy going up. So I always try to make sure I don't accidentally go the wrong way. Alright, I'll be quiet and work here. We're at 68 thou. And this will be 80. Now, I think I'm just going to go ahead and take it to 100 and then we'll shake it out and see how we did. I think it's going to be a little more than that. There's 90. It doesn't remove much wood there across the middle. Just a little skinny ledge. Alright, let's do the last 10. Take it to 100. Alright, going to take it out of the machine, over on the workbench, test fit it, probably back in here, probably several more times. I'll check back in with you when I'm ready to show you something pretty. Okay, bye. Alright, so I thought you might find this interesting. So I finished machining the trigger guard down in like that, and test fit it with the rear screw, which doesn't go through wood. So now I have to drill the holes for the two action mounting screws, and in this gun there's one that goes through the forward trigger guard hole and another one here on the forearm. So I've got here a little piece of bolt that I chucked in a drill and ground a point on it. If I can figure out how to hold it sideways. I guess you can see, yep, there, it's got a little point. So screw that into each of these action holes and press it down into the wood and identify where they are. So there's the trigger guard one, and down in there is the forward one. Now additionally, for the trigger guard hole, I traced the inside of the circle using the trigger guard. Right, I just traced the circle and then eyeballed the center of that circle and put a little pencil dot, and then used an awl to poke a hole and then wobbled the awl around to sort of make a decent sized hole. So even though that we've got this inside spot here, I could put this in the milling machine and drill based on that. But if it ends up not lining up with this, well, this is actually a more important datum because that's where the bolt goes in from. And if we end up at a weird angle and it doesn't hit the action, we can change the angle. But anyway, here's what I'm going to do. And then this one, I can't put this in the milling machine. It's got to be on this. The top of the forearm is the datum, and don't have anything there to know where to drill from. And I can't do it this way because this is not square, and it'd be a lot of work to try to square the top of the forearm up to the drill bit in the milling machine. So I'm going to use a a drill block. It's got an 1/8 inch hole in the middle, and an 1/8 inch drill bit. And we're going to put this on top of the forearm and poke this hole. Oh, drop the drill bit, but you get the idea. Use the drill block and the drill bit, poke that hole through, and now we'll flip it upside down on the milling machine and drill it from the top side, finish opening it up to the right size. And then this one, we're just going to drill it first off in the milling machine, because we can put it in there with the top of the forearm as a datum and drill that through square and see how it lines up. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I won't bore you with the tedium of actually drilling a hole. I'm sure you all know how to do that. I'm going to use a hand drill. And yep, I'll see you back over at the milling machine in a little bit. Okay, to drill these holes, the first thing I'm doing, well, this one first is one I chose to do first. I'm using a center finder tool, and I'll take it out here in a minute and show you a little clearer how it works. But it's got two pieces, one part that's held in a collet, and the other part is spring loaded. You know, it's squished together with a spring, but it can move around 360 degrees. So I adjusted the position of it in X and Y until I run my fingernail across the separation between those two pieces, and it's perfectly centered. So here, I'll drop this down and remove the tool. Well, actually, I can just show you right here with it in. This part can move around, see, like that. And it's got a point there, drops into this. So it's a center finder. The other end of this tool is an edge finder. So if you install it the other upside down, be right side up for this task, and this guy's never perfectly centered, so it wobbles as it spins, and you run this up onto the edge of something, and as it touches, this will start to become squared up and even, and you go just a tiny bit more, which will actually be the perfect edge touch, and this will slide over sideways like that. And then you back off and it's wobbling, you come up on the edge and it becomes squared up, and then just a tiny bit more pressure and it'll slide off sideways, and then you can mark that as 0. And this guy is exactly 0.10 of an inch. But if you take a reading on the digital readouts on one side, then go to the other side and divide by 2, you know exactly where the middle is. But there's some operations though where you need to know exactly how far in from an edge rather than finding the middle, and then you have to calculate for that that 0.10. Alright, so we've got everything centered on our little divot we made where we want the hole. So we got an 1/8 inch drill bit. Here I'm going to poke it with this first, and then we'll go through the final dimension. And the inside of the inletting, of course, I don't need to drill all the way through to the bottom, so I wouldn't be hitting the base of the vise. But most vices have a space in the center anyway, so you have a little bit of room so you don't drill into the base of the vise. And I am on the middle, just like good practice to do that, even though in this case it doesn't really matter because I'm not going to go that deep. And I like to put an eyeball on it, make sure everything does in fact look good. And it does. And it's interesting, the optical illusion, because in a sense, the angle I was looking at, it didn't really look centered. And if I had done it visually to where I thought it was centered, it would not have been centered. So using the center finder tool is a good idea. Alright, I'm going to pop this out and see how it looks, and then I'll stick it back in the vise, drop the drill bit back in again to refine the center, and then I'll open it up to the final dimension, which, why didn't I just drill it that way to begin with? Just drill it the final size. I knew it was centered, right? I guess I'm a chicken. There's no going back. Oh, and it's perfect. It looks really good. A tiny bit off from where it divoted, but it's going to be just fine. Ultimately, tiny little variances are not a big deal because we can glass bed the difference. Alright, so I'm going to refine the middle on this. I'm going to open it up to the final dimension of the hole. Then I'm going to come over here and I'm going to poke this hole, which is already started. Oop, you can barely see what I'm pointing at. This one's already been started with the 1/8 inch, so I'll find the center of that, open it up to its final size hole, and I'll check back with you on the workbench. I just had to turn the camera back on for a minute because it's the craziest thing. It's like the deli worker that throws exactly 2 ounces of meat on the scale without having to adjust, gets it perfect just out of practice, or just the magic of familiarity, I guess, with the tools. Or I don't know, I almost think it's like an example of our connection to the divine, which is perfection, and we are that also. Anyway, that gets into philosophy, but I just threw this back in the vise and tightened it up, and it's actually perfectly lined up with the drill bit, first try. Didn't even have to adjust it, so it's just the magic of the world. I'll be back. Okay, so those holes came out absolutely perfect. Didn't need any adjusting at all. So here is the first time that we have the action bolted into the wood. Yes, this is a random length bolt that is too long for the job, but we have yet to use a Forstner bit and cut the countersink hole. And even at that, this is a custom stock, not the skinny factory original stock, so it's pretty unlikely that we'll end up using the factory original screw for this. We'll probably use an Allen of the correct length, but we'll see how it goes. I'm really not too concerned about using the correct, the original screw for that. Rarely do we get to. But here are the trigger guard screws. This is the main action screw, and that little tiny one that holds the rear of the trigger guard to the trigger block. They fit absolutely perfect. The trigger guard is an absolutely perfect fit in its space. It's just a perfect job. This is great. So a little more milling machine time to do the Forstner bit cut for this, and I'll probably go ahead and glass bed it after doing that. Excuse me, a little sawdusty in here. Yeah, and then I guess after glass bedding, we'll cut the length of pole, put the recoil pad on, get that shaped, and then we'll be on final sanding and shaping. And yeah, we do have a little extra wood here now to finish shaping so that we can shape right down to the trigger guard. And when you see stocks, especially airgun stocks, I see this all the time, where you see the base of the trigger guard sticking up proud of the wood, yeah, that's a mistake. That is just not paying attention to detail. But we see a lot of that. This won't have that problem. This will be absolutely perfect. So I'm really happy with how this is coming out. We got to decide if we're going to leave the forearm on or not. I kind of like it. It really accentuates the American classic feel of a shooting stick, kind of long and skinny and straight, almost like you took a tree branch and put the action in it, kind of thing. So I think I like that better than being short, but we have yet to determine and get some input on the client, what he likes. I think it's looking pretty cool. Okay, I'll check back in with you all later.